Hello and welcome to another episode of Jumping Geordies, and today we're going to be reading a book. This is a new series, and each day or week, I haven't chosen yet, I'll be reading 5 minutes of Roald Dahl's book, The Twins. Not many of you enjoy reading because you might be thick as shit. You might just not like reading because you prefer to stay indoors and play on your Xbox or PS3. But today, we're reading, and you might actually enjoy this. So, they're the twins, as you can see there. Exciting. So now, Chapter 1, Hairy Faces. What a lot of hairy-faced men there are around nowadays. When a man grows hair all over his face, it is impossible to tell what he really looks like. Perhaps that's why he does it. He'd rather you didn't know. Then there's the problem of washing. When the hairy ones wash their faces, it must be as big as a job as when you and I wash the hair on our heads. So what I want you to know is this. How often do all these hairy-faced men wash their faces? It is only once a week, like us, on Sunday nights. And do they shampoo it? Do they use a hairdryer? Do they rub hair tonic in to stop their faces from going bald? Do they go to a barber to have their hairy faces cut and trimmed? Or do they do it themselves in front of the bathroom mirror with nail scissors? I don't know, but next time you see a man with a hairy face, which will probably be as soon as you step out on the street, maybe look at him more closely and start wondering about some of these things. Next page. Mr. Twit. Mr. Twit was one of these hairy-faced men. The whole of his face, except his forehead, his eyes and his nose, were covered with thick hair. The stuff even sprouted into revolting tufts out of his nostrils and ear holes. Mr. Twit felt that his hairness made him look terrifically wise and grand, but in truth he was neither of these things. Mr. Twit was a twit. He was born a twit, and at the age of 60, he was a bigger twit than ever. Don't mistake that for the rude word. Just a little sip of my drink there. The hair on Mr. Twit's face didn't grow smooth and matted, as it does on most hairy-faced men. It grew in spikes that stuck out straight like the bristles of a nail brush. And how often did Mr. Twit wash this bristly, nail-brushy face of his? The answer is never. Not even on Sundays. He hadn't washed it for years. That's Mr. Twit right there, as you can see, looking finer than ever. Dirty beards. As you know, an ordinary unhairy face like yours or mine simply gets a bit smudgy if it is not washed often enough. And there's nothing so awful about that. But a hairy face is a very different matter. Things cling to hairs, especially food. Things like gravy go right in among the hairs and stay there. You and I can wipe our smooth faces with a flannel and we quickly look more or less alright again. But the hairy men cannot do that. We can also, if we are careful, eat our meals without spreading food all over our faces, but not so the hairy man. Watch carefully next time you see a hairy man eating his lunch, and you will notice, even if he opens his mouth very wide, it is impossible for him to get a spoonful of beef stew or ice cream and chocolate sauce into it without leaving some on the hairs. Mr. Twit didn't even bother to open his mouth wide when he ate. As a result, and because he never washed, there was always hundreds of bits of old breakfast and lunch and suppers sticking to the hairs around his face. They weren't big bits, mind you, because he used to wipe those off with the back of his hand or on his sleeve while he was eating. But if you looked very closely, not that I'd ever want to, you would see tiny little specks of dried up scrambled eggs stuck to his hairs, and spinach and tomato ketchup, and fish fingers and minced chicken livers, and all the other disgusting things Mr. Twit liked to eat. Thank you for listening to Jumping Geordie's first episode of Let's Read. So, hope you enjoyed it. Come back again for soon.